Hello, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of Taking Flight. This is Megan Holly, and today we are talking about duality. It is a little something that has become really kind of the forefront of my thoughts recently, so much so that it actually is one of my 3 words of the year. I'm not sure if you're somebody who does a word of the year or a mantra of the year, and no pressure or shade if you're not. It is something for me over the last probably 3 to 4 years that has really helped me stay feeling grounded in kind of what my vision is for myself for the year. And duality, although it seems like, what kind of word is that? It doesn't seem very inspirational. It doesn't seem very obvious for a word of the year. It just came to me, and that's how I let mine just kind of surface. I sit there and just take a look at kind of what I'm feeling and what I'm envisioning for myself for the year. And over time, the words just kind of present themselves. So duality was the last of the 3 words that I kind of put into the arsenal for myself to keep top of mind for this year. And I thought it would be a really great topic for the podcast because it is something that I think we need to straddle a little bit more often. And I'll get into that a little bit more. Like, what does this mean? How is this something that can be helpful or a resource? But duality is something that is just life, if you ask me. It is, from a young child, I always just knew there was kind of all sides of every situation, of all experiences. And I didn't really know what that meant as a child, right? But I just knew that I saw things in a multifaceted way, for lack of a better way of saying that, right? And then as an adult, it got more concrete in my thinking, in the way that I operated. Something is not good or bad, it just is. And I believe it's Stoicism that says, right, something doesn't get to tell you how you feel about it. You get to tell the world how you experience and feel about something. And so that is exactly what I kind of bring into the stratosphere of the idea of duality. And so let's talk about that for a second. What is duality? My vision board right now has a huge ampersand sign in the center of it, and then all my other things around it, right? And it's because it's becoming such a kind of essence for me this year. And so duality, in my mind, in my experience, is that we get to experience 2 different emotions at the same time. We can be celebrating and mourning at the same time. We just have such a myriad of things happening in our lives all the time that we don't have to just be one or the other. And I have such a pet peeve of somebody, right, kind of having just this, I don't know, this closed-minded way of encapsulating something, right? Encapsulating something. And so, for instance, let me use the example of 2024 was such a crap year, right? Was it? Are we just discrediting the moments that were good by just saying this was just absolute crap? I don't know, right? Like, there's a disservice to ourselves and just kind of the experiences that we forge for ourselves and our existence and the people around us when we just kind of put something into one little box. And so when I see that sentiment out in the world, it kind of, I don't know, it gives me a little ping, and it makes me feel like, oh, there's got to be a better way for us to think and understand the things that we are experiencing, the way that we are operating in this world. And so to me, duality is just that. Knowing that we can be going through the loss of something really hard in our lives. Maybe it's a person, maybe it's a job, maybe it's a version of ourselves that we don't see or connect with anymore. But at the same time, when we're going through this loss or confusion, we can also be so freaking excited about something. Maybe it's a new chapter, a new relationship, an idea that you just had for your business. What is it, right? And so these 2 things live together. They breathe together. And when we allow them more, I guess, surface time, then at the same time, let me put it that way too, at the same time, we can really help ourselves to experience life more full throttle, if that makes sense. And who wouldn't want that, right? And I'm not talking like adrenaline junkie in a race car, just flying around, like crazy town fast, right? Not everybody wants to live at a super fast pace. But what I mean by full throttle is just feeling like fully in yourself, fully invested in your goals, aspirations, excited moments, relationships, all of these beautiful things. And so today, when we're thinking about duality, I want you to take a moment really to just think to yourself, do I get one-sided in life? Right? Do I get one-sided in life? Do I allow a person in my mind who's done me wrong, for instance, let's use that as an example, to just absolutely write them off? They're awful. They have nothing good to offer this world. I will never say anything good about them. Or can we see that some of the things that they have done are a product of their own experiences, their own environments? And yes, we may not want to put ourselves in their presence, and we may want to create more boundaries or completely be out of their lives, but we don't have to look at it so black and white, right? What that does is frees up our energy and our mind to foster better relationship with ourselves. Instead of just saying this person is this way or that way, we allow the duality of their existence to be able to go on, ride off into the sunset and just move along, right? And so what that happens in our minds is that we can see that with ourselves. When we start to see it in other people or experiences, then we can see that within ourselves. Instead of saying, I am awful because I have been trying to accomplish this goal for the last 5 years and I haven't. Instead of saying that's who we are. We're slackers, we're lazy, we're whatever. We can see the other side of it. We can see the fact that maybe there was curveballs that came our way that we absolutely were not looking for. We did not see them coming, right? And hey, what can we do, right? Except for act and react to what's happening. Maybe there's other things that came in. Maybe there's some self-sabotaging. Maybe there was, other people in our minds and in our heads that were kind of keeping us from investing in these goals that we've had for the last however many years. So see how that can really help us to move through just kind of a very linear way of thinking about anything in life. So when you're sitting here and you're thinking about duality, I imagine that there's a couple things that could pop up immediately that you're maybe feeling as though, yeah, I've really been looking at this in kind of just a one-note way. And I want you to give yourself space to understand that there's nothing wrong or ill-willed about the way that you've been kind of operating in that experience. But is there a better way for you to go on and move through it, right? And I think that's what we all want and wish and hope for in life, is to do better. When we know better, we do better. And so when we can see how we are actually really, really getting down to the nitty-gritty and how we are actually taking in experiences, what we're saying to ourselves about them or ourselves or that person, we can do better because we now know better. We're taking that kind of intellect and that insight into our own mind's eye and shifting it. And so, for instance, right, I always like to give a personal example because A, I want you to know that you're not alone in thinking these ways. And B, right, it helps us to have these conversations better when we are all sharing what we experience within whatever it is we're talking about. And today it's duality. So for me, I can love who I am, what I look like, what I do, at the same time that I want to make shifts or dislike something about myself as well, right? Getting on the recording right here. Let's use this really raw, real. You're seeing it live, right? I can feel like, oh, well, I wish I would have did this differently, or maybe I wish I had got to the gym a little bit more and I was a little bit more in shape before getting on camera. Listen, I wish, but it's not the case, right? But I can feel that way, but also show up and say, you know what? I am also this version, and this version is good enough for right now. So the duality of that thinking is I could have continued pushing off getting here to this moment because of other things that I felt like were only one way, or I could only feel one way about it. But because I've been really working on duality, how I look at things, how I listen to myself, I was able to work through the idea that I don't feel camera ready, maybe. I don't feel the 100%, 3,000, just balls to the wall, let's do this. But also, I can. Yeah? And what got me here was doing some of the work, right? Doing some of the things I've talked about on other episodes, like movement and joyfulness, and knowing that I am worthy in the moment, no matter what it is, no matter what is happening, no matter what I look like, no matter what. And so breaking that down for yourself, pick one thing where you feel like maybe it's the thing that's kind of been eating away at you. It's been just festering in your mind. Maybe you can't forgive something or someone, and it's just been festering, right? Forgiveness is a beautiful thing because you want to know what? What it does is frees us up, frees up our hearts, our energy, and just our experience to take in so much more beauty. So whatever it is, what's festering back there in that beautiful brain of yours, that you can start to unpack the duality of it. And you can start to see there's a facet, right? Y'all know I love sparkly things, disco balls, prisms, all of the things. They're multifaceted. And I think part of me who likes to make something out of everything feels like I'm attracted to those type of things because they are. They show us so many different things in life. They show us different sides. They reflect into a quiet, dark corner that maybe we didn't look at for a long time. Maybe it's got cobwebs, right? Real talk. One time my prism in my kitchen was actually like reflecting in a corner and I was like, whoa, that is quite the cobweb, right? And it was a moment for me, instead of being mad and telling myself like, oh my God, how could I never not seen that for however long it's been there? It was a moment for me to say, okay, like, let's just get that cleaned up and move along. Thanks for shedding some light on the darkness, Prism, right? So why can't we do that in real life? Can you get a little more prismatic in the way that we think, in the way that we operate about the thing that's festering, that we've been holding on forever? For me, I have always had a pretty innate ability to forgive. And I believe it's that dual thinking that can really be so beneficial. And so if you're someone who's like, yeah, I don't forgive, I'm pissed, I'm really angry about whatever it is, can you take a look inside of yourself and see why you're holding on to it? Can you shine a little bit of that prism into the dark corner and see what it is you're holding on to? Is it that version of yourself? Is it that, right, the idea of that person or experience, even though it didn't end up good, but it was like what you wanted it to be? There's so many different things, and I can't tell you the right answer, but what I can tell you is when you get quiet and think about how you are perceiving the world around you and the things that you're holding on to that aren't serving you, you can do so much beautifulness with letting go, or at least, even if you can't let go, at least redirecting your energy and your thoughts in a new way. And the beautifulness of it is duality can kind of jump on and hunker into anything in life. Like I use the example of myself, right? Of how you feel about yourself. And so I want you, today's takeaway is that I want you to really take one bold step to letting go of something that no longer serves you when it comes to a perspective of anything, whatever it is for you. What is it? What's coming up for you? What do you know is just like constantly on replay in the back of your mind, right? What can you do to A, start seeing other sides and perspectives of it. B, make steps, take teeny tiny baby steps to making that be something that works for you, not against you, right? So maybe it's rewriting the memory or story that is replaying in your head with somebody else in some other way, right? Re-experiencing what you hoped to have had from that and shifting it for you. And then lastly, taking the time to start seeing duality in more parts of your life, right? Because once you start to see it, it's like this snowball effect in the most beautiful way. Like this beautiful just avalanche of wonder comes, and you can start to see that people, experiences, what happens to us, right, is really not so much just a point blank experience or one note. It is what we make it. Yeah. We've all had a lot of loss, shifts, changes, things that just didn't go as planned. It's part of life. And when we can allow that to be our truth, and then we start creating our life and our perspective around it, the magic can happen, my friends. So I hope this episode leaves you feeling like you can release something, right? If it even is just the idea of saying, I can breathe a little bit better. I know that I can make strides to feel like I have more, and I don't even want to use the word control, right? Because that just doesn't necessarily feel right or good within this, but you feel like you just have more sense about you to operate in a world that isn't just so. It is whatever you want it to be. You can create these experiences and release those that don't serve you. So have a beautiful experience, just kind of mulling through all of this and allow yourself the space to do so. Thanks so much, everybody, and I will see you next time.